Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom, and we are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. And I'm glad that you've joined us this morning because we have a lot to cover. And you know the show has been extremely busy as of late. So I took today off from guests, having throughout the week sometimes two guests, a program, but today it's just you and me, and I'm looking forward to that. So make sure the waves and the comments come in. Also, I've got a couple of updates on some issues that we've been bringing throughout the week, some local stories, New York stories. First off, just coming in my email, breaking news. The Nobel Peace Prize is being awarded to a Japanese group of atomic bomb survivors. This just announced. Nihon Hidanko is a grassroots movement of survivors from Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The group's efforts have helped establish a nuclear taboo, the Nobel Committee has said. So there's your breaking news. How about that? Right off the jump this morning. Okay, couple of really updates. Depending on which outlet you go to, Hurricane Milton has left upwards of 12 people dead, millions without power. Governor Ron DeSantis said the state has avoided the worst case scenario, though he cautioned the damage was still significant and flooding remained a concern. U.S. Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas said at a White House briefing that there was reports of 10 deaths thus far, adding it appeared that they were caused by the tornadoes. At least, listen to this, at least 27 twisters touched down in Florida. Now, unfortunately, the devastation from Hurricane Milton and Hurricane Helene has caused, well, it has turned political. Let's put it that way. And we're going to discuss that. Many critical of Harris. All these waves coming in. Thank you. You guys are hitting the ground running this morning. Many critical of the Harris campaign, trying to politicize it, though, and we'll get to this in just a moment. Andrea Mitchell saying that Harris really, really wanted to be a part of kind of the recovery efforts, if you will. But as Fox News puts it, Milton's gone, but the political storm keeps raging over the federal government's hurricane efforts. It has not been it's been a war of words between Biden and Trump, with Trump continuing to charge that Biden and Harris have been slow and ineffective in steering the government's storm efforts. So the president has found himself once again firing back, saying, Vice President Harris and I have been in constant contact with the state and local officials. We're offering everything they need. With less than 4 weeks to go until Election Day, Harris and Trump are locked in a narrow margin of error showdown in a race to succeed Biden at the White House. And with two of the hardest hitting states from Helene, North Carolina, and Georgia, among the 7 battlegrounds that will likely determine the outcome of the 2024 election, the politics of federal disaster relief are again front and center. Now, of course, we know Trump has said it's the worst response to a hurricane disaster in U.S. history, the worst hurricane response since Katrina. On Thursday at a campaign event in Michigan, Trump kept on these attacks. He praised Southern Republican governors for doing a fantastic job reacting to this storm and argued that the federal government, on the other hand, has not done what you're supposed to be doing, in particular with respect to North Carolina. They left those people suffer unjustly. You know where they gave the money to, illegal immigrants coming, Trump said. Hours later, Biden pushed back, calling it an onslaught of lies. Biden charged that the rhetoric from Trump and other Republicans was beyond ridiculous and that it's got to stop. On Thursday, as he updated federal hurricane response efforts, Biden told reporters that Trump needs to get a life, man. Help these people. Then he argued the public will hold him, meaning Trump, accountable for making false claims. Help the people. I do think it's interesting, and we brought that story to you yesterday, that Trump had opened up one of his resorts, I think is the right word, or hotels, to line workers ahead of the storm so that they could be prepared and ready to go at a moment's notice. Whoa. What am I missing here? So many ways. I should have started off with fireworks here, getting everybody going on this Friday morning. But Harris let's go back to Ron DeSantis. Because Ron DeSantis didn't turn this political. Harris did by the start of, DeSantis didn't pick up my phone call and trying to turn it political. And again, DeSantis saying at the time, and I'm paraphrasing here, of course, saying, I didn't know she called. I mean, no one did this intentionally. Well, Governor DeSantis briefed President Biden on the fallout from Hurricane Milton yesterday while hammering Vice President Harris once again over her swipe at him for not taking her call earlier in the week. DeSantis chided that Harris, quote, doesn't understand what it means to respond to these natural disasters, and again accused her, and I think rightfully so, of politicizing the event. She has no role in this process, and I've been dealing with these storms in Florida under both former President Donald Trump and President Biden. Neither of them ever politicized it. In fact, during all of the storms I've dealt with under this administration, although I've worked well with the president, she has never called. She has never offered any support. She's trying to interject herself into this because of her political campaign. Now, if you recall earlier in the week, and we brought this to you at the time, multiple reports emerged that DeSantis' staff had turned down an attempt by Harris to reach him late last month in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene, making landfall on September the 26th. When pressed about those reports, Harris said, people are in desperate need of support right now and playing political games at this moment in these crisis situations. These are the height of emergency situations. It is utterly irresponsible and it's selfish, is what she's told reporters. DeSantis at the time firing back, saying, I don't have time for those games. I don't care about her campaign. Obviously, I'm not a supporter of hers. For her to say that my focus should be on catering to her rather than worrying about my own people just shows she doesn't understand, pardon me, frog in my throat, doesn't understand what it means to respond to these natural disasters. Let me reiterate that because I think it was a important point that DeSantis was making. For her to say that my focus should be on catering to her rather than worrying about my own people just shows she doesn't understand what it means to respond to these natural disasters. While DeSantis has sniped at Harris, Biden has commented that the governor has been doing a great job. And I think that's very interesting. Biden's response to this, he even, and there's a piece we're going to get to in a moment, that even says that even Biden's frustrated and upset with Harris for trying to turn this political. Now, you understand it. You've got swing states involved. You've got a campaign that right now, well, according to left-leaning outlets, Democrats are worried and concerned about what could happen on November 5th. So looking to, I guess, make headlines, trying to look as if she's forceful and in essence backfiring in that manner. But as I said, Andrea Mitchell on MSNBC said this is a bit of a balancing act because the president, the vice president responding to the hurricane, especially she, meaning Harris, wanted to be part of the crisis response. But also there are very few days left, 26 days until Election Day. So she's got to balance what she does. And it was James Carville, who we mentioned yesterday, who had said that Harris has pretty much will lose probably around 3 to 4 days in what was 26. He ended up figuring it out of actual days she can be out making her case around probably 20, maybe less, because he mentioned the Saturday, the weekend before is kind of a lost time, and he really laid out a pretty important calendar, saying that she hasn't been aggressive. Obviously, she's not going to media as much as a normal presidential candidate would, or her vice president, really, to that matter. And he's saying they've got to be way more aggressive, especially when you look at the polling. We heard yesterday that the polling, internal polling from Harris is not favorable to her. Now, internal polling is very important. It's not numbers that you and I normally get to see. The polls that we get to see are maybe done in a biased fashion or in a way to help certain storylines, whatever those storylines may be. But Mitchell, I'll continue with what she had to say. or what they continue to say on the show. White House correspondent Peter Alexander said, but as you know well, when you're president or the vice president, you take those responsibilities, whether you go and you have the ability to sort of conduct those duties wherever you are. Meaning she has a job to do. She may be running for president, but she's still the vice president, correct? So she, of course, is in Las Vegas right now, participating in Univision Town Hall, which we will get to later on, by the way. As you know, she did virtually dial into the Situation Room briefing that took place a short time ago at the White House, where Deanna Criswell, the FEMA administrator, was part of the conversation. Also, the Homeland Security advisor to the president participating in the briefings that President Biden was getting, frankly, through the night. Yes, it's the optics of it are not good. And granted, she's running for president. But at the same time, if it weren't for the kind of basement strategy, if it weren't for the kind of stay quiet strategy, she may not need to be putting on the full court press right now, quote unquote, full court press. And we can argue about that media blitz and who she was actually speaking to when it comes to The View and who she was trying to convince to vote for her. I mean, that was a friendly audience to her, but we'll put that aside. We talked about that all week. But now she's kind of playing catch up, many are suggesting, not on the Republican side either. That's more of a Democrat talking point, playing catch up. And so now she's in the awkward situation of being in Las Vegas at a time when another natural disaster, Hurricane Milton, touched land. So yes, she was on that awkward meeting where she had to tell staffers that she was live, not knowing what they were saying. Very awkward scenario. But continuing with what Mr. Alexander had to say, we got an update last night, another one this morning. We're going to hear from the Department of Homeland Security Secretary a short time from now at 1. He's going to join Karine Jean-Pierre in the briefing room. The president, as you said, will speak at 2. I don't know why I went through all this part. But I think a point you make is a good one here. Kamala Harris, who heads off to Phoenix, part of the West Coast swing, for a rally this evening, trying to demonstrate as much of her competence and her sort of capabilities as it relates to the ability to handle crises of this kind, as much as it is to sort of focus on the necessary message that she wants to get across in the course of her campaign. So the campaign message really is she's maintaining her efforts and her responsibilities as vice president while trying to deliver a message for why she's best suited to help serve the country as president for the next 4 years. So struggling now with the time frame, struggling to get her message out and show that she is being helpful. And I would say, and I would argue, especially with her back and forth with DeSantis, that she has not proven her case that she would be helpful in a time of crisis. Because if you look at DeSantis, even him saying Trump or Biden have never made these things political. I don't have time to cater to her phone calls. I'm worried about the people of my state. And that's an important message. I'm going to take our first break because I've got to audit these waves. I got to make sure I caught them all and make sure we're up to date. We've got more on the hurricane. We also have a lot about both campaigns as well. Then some kind of just catch-all as we normally do on Friday, maybe some things that we missed or some things to quickly cover because we're going to move fast this morning. I can feel it already. And I know it because we got such a great audience and so many people watching. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
Isn't yours important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselsen's Hot Tub. Hesselsen's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselsen's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselsen's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselsen's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselsen's.
If you're on supplemental oxygen, heavy and awkward tanks are a burden. Now you can leave home and leave the tanks behind with Inogen One, the portable oxygen concentrator you can take almost anywhere.
With this little device, now I'm able to do the things that I've always loved. I just press the button here, and there's my oxygen.
The Inogen One is so small and light, you're free to leave the house without the hassles of an oxygen tank.
I could play golf again. I could go grocery shopping. I'm free again.
With the Inogen, I can handle my own oxygen. I can carry my own oxygen. I go anywhere with this. Look how small it is.
And right now, you can try an Inogen One for 30 days completely risk-free. Give us a call right now. If you qualify, we'll send you an Inogen system to use for 30 days completely risk-free. Your insurance may even cover your new Inogen One system.
If you're on oxygen, you need to be using an Inogen.
Call 1-800-929-7290. Again, that's 1-800-929-7290.
And we are back. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact Boss Security for all your business and home security needs. Looks nice out there this morning, doesn't it? We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. I have a lot of comments coming in. Ken, I'll get to your second one after the next break. But your first comment, I did not hear about this. So here's the comment from Ken. Did you see that a group of sports stars have started a platform, Stand Up to Hate, in an effort to bring people together? This close to the election, I wonder which people will be labeled as the haters, liberals or conservatives. I can understand your concern, Ken, but I don't know if this is the same one. I did see that there's a group, and it's actually in collaboration with baseball, Major League Soccer, National Basketball Association, and this one's called Time Out Against Hate. Now, if that's the one that you're referencing, that's actually could be an important group because it's standing up against anti-Semitism at a time when we need to stand up against anti-Semitism. So Time Out Against Hate, that may be different than the one you're speaking of, Ken, but Time Out Against Hate it has NASCAR's involved, women's soccer, National Football League. That would be, I think, an important group if their stated goal is to fight anti-Semitism. Okay, another comment from a different viewer. Just a thought. Because Harris avoids the media at seemingly all costs, I suspect that, on the extremely unlikely chance she wins the election, her administration will make decisions primarily behind closed doors, as is prevalent in the Democratic Party. I would agree with that. I think if you look at the way she's run her campaign, I don't see a very transparent presidency. I wouldn't see a very, not a press conference heavy, obviously, presidency, because she has yet to give a press conference at all during this whole process. Now, she has had some recent interviews, and I know she had a town hall that we'll get to a little bit later on Univision, which I'll also highlight that Trump will be there as well, not at the same one, of course, but we'll have a town hall opportunity on Univision, but we'll get to that later on. I will read your next one, Ken, later on, because I didn't have a chance to read through it. Since we're talking viewer comments, I have to bring this up because I wanted to bring it up earlier in the week, but we've been so busy, and that's so good. That's great. I've got to be honest. Looking at my calendar, next week is kind of the calm before the storm. We're going to have some guests. It's going to be fantastic. But we're going to be looking at probably with the next, 3 weeks, we'll be talking most days probably 2 guests, maybe a program. I'm trying to keep it to 1 guest. So let me do a little public service announcement. If you are running for office, if there's someone you want to hear from that's running for office, and I know before you say Trump, I don't think that's going to happen. But if you know somebody that locally is running and they want to get on the program, or if you are, please reach out to that number on the bottom of the screen as soon as possible, because I'm not exaggerating when I say that we are essentially booked up. I'm getting calls throughout the day from various candidates, from Supreme Court here in New York State, or Yeah, New York State, excuse me. Steuben County. Obviously, we have the judicial races, Chemung County, who we've had a lot of these candidates on already, but this is obviously the push. So I'm really excited about the next few weeks, but that's just a quick public service announcement. That was my long way around to show these. Friend of Frankly Speaking, great friend of Frankly Speaking, Jack brought these to me, and I'm not the best at showing things on camera, but if you remember the old Triumph sports car, look at that bumper sticker. Isn't that neat? Triumph, and of course the Trump and the other logo here. That showed up pretty good on camera, didn't it? Yeah. So thank you for those. What a unique and really neat design. So I really appreciate those. Thank you very much, Jack. And also, I've got to show you this one. Let me see if I got it here. I don't know if this one will get me in trouble as I drive around town or not. Caution, anti-mainstreamist news reporter inside, Frankly Speaking. Is that like baby on board? Thank you so much, Jack. I really appreciate those. And I've been meaning to I've been meaning to bring it up all week so I can actually use them. But as you know, it has been a very, very busy week. So thank you for that. All right, let's take a short break. But again, yes, if you know anybody that wants to run, or wants to run, it's kind of late for that. If you know anybody that is running and wants to be on the program, please have them reach out to me quickly, because I'm not exaggerating when I say it's going to be a wild ride here on Frankly Speaking between now and November the 5th, and probably after as well. As many have speculated, we will not know the winner of the presidential race until well after November 5th. That is what's being speculated. Don't shoot the messenger. All right, let's take a short break. When we come back, a comment from Ken. Some other comments coming in as well. Keep those waves coming, and we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
Your wallet is always in danger. Criminals can scan and hack your information without you even knowing. Worse yet, it's bulky and so disorganized. But not anymore, because Slim is in. Introducing Slim Mint, an ultra-thin RFID blocking wallet that keeps your cards and cash truly protected. And now may be your last chance to get it for a low price. Slim Mint uses the latest RFID blocking technology to prevent thieves from scanning your wallet and stealing your info.
Having your information stolen is a nightmare. But with Slim Mint, I know I'm protected.
With money clips, cash can easily fall out. But with the auto-locking Slim Mint, your cards and money stay securely in place. Then just press the button to release the lock. Slim Mint is ergonomically designed to optimize space and keep your belongings organized. It has a built-in cash clip and a flexible outer band to securely fit your additional cards and your extra cash. Even with everything you see here in the Slim Mint, it's still ultra-thin. Bulky wallets are uncomfortable, but the Slim Mint is so compact it fits in any size pocket. Plus, it keeps everything easy to access.
Slim Mint holds everything from pictures to credit cards, my driver's license. Yeah, it's still so thin.
Say bye-bye to bent cards and damaged magnetic strips. Slim Mint keeps them protected. It's crush resistant and can really take a beating. Similar wallets sell for over $100. But call or click now and get Slim Mint for just $29.99. Order in the next 5 minutes and you'll get an instant $10 discount. So it's only $19.99. But wait, due to rising costs and supply chain shortages, this may be your last chance to get Slim Mint at this low price. There's a strict limit of 3 Slim Mint wallets while supplies last. You still have time to get your very own Slim Mint wallets, but you must act fast. Don't wait. Order now.
Call 1-800-655-8103. That's 1-800-655-8103. Call or visit slimmintwallet.com. So call 1-800-655-8103 now.
A beautiful roof cam. Brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them for all your business and home security needs. Thank you to Boss Security for sponsoring that Roof cam, I'm so glad to have you back. Just had 2 ways. Okay, here we go. Oh, Jackie, open up can of worms. I want one of those Triumph stickers. Where can I get one? Next up, from a good comment from a different viewer. October 16th, first day of early voting in Tennessee. I can't wait to vote for my candidate. Yes. I can't wait to vote for my candidate. Yes, we do have a viewer from Tennessee. Okay. This is from Ken, and I'll pose this question. So yesterday, WETM had as far as I know, the only debate between Langworthy and Carl running for the 23rd District for Congress. Asking if I saw the debate. Yes, Ken, I did see the debate. This is Ken's takeaway. He said, I don't think my wife even knew I was watching. She must love your TV habits. She was busy watching the amazing Northern Lights show most of the night. Good for her. Both, and this is when we get into the nitty gritty of the debate. This again between Langworthy and Carl, both running for, of course, the New York 23. Both mostly recanted the Republican and Democrat talking points. Carl had the Dems lie playbook memorized. Project 2025. Trump killed the strongest migration bill in a century. The Republicans want to completely ban abortion regardless of the reason, etc. Carl is not a good speaker and struggled to get his message out. Langworthy is a better speaker and stayed mostly calm while trying to correct the Democrats' misinformation. Langworthy was the clear winner. What were your thoughts last night? I was surprised how much it did seem to go to that national, more so coming from Carl, to the national talking points of, as if they were running for president. It seemed like instead of preparing perhaps for a congressional debate, he was watching repeats of a presidential debate in that sense. Having not seen Carl before, only the photo of him in the Democrat headquarters down the street here, and not knowing him personally, I thought I would assume, a political newcomer. He did not do horribly. I did think Langworthy was kind of calm and collected and had his points down pretty pat. So I would overall agree with your assessment, Ken. So thank you. All right. So Isaac Shore at the New York Post, going back to our discussion, yes, we are discussing about Hurricane Milton. Isaac Shore suggesting that even Joe Biden can't stomach the way that Harris has handled the response and the politicalization of Hurricane Milton and Helena. When was the last time you can remember a president rebuking his own party's nominee to succeed him with less than a month ago until Election Day? As it turns out, for every 10 or so of his faults, President Biden does boast a virtue. And I think this is an interesting point by Isaac. A few of his old school instincts have survived his half century in electoral politics. And one of those instincts is an aversion to using a crisis, like the one brought about by Hurricanes Helene and Milton, to smear his rivals. That aversion has put him at odds with none other than Vice President Kamala Harris. On Monday, NBC News reported that Florida Governor Ron DeSantis had declined to take calls from Harris, as you know. While DeSantis himself professed to be unaware of Harris's efforts to reach him, the vice president went scorched earth, saying, quote, "People are in desperate need of support right now, and playing political games at this moment in these crisis situations. These are the height of the emergency situations," she raged, deriding the governor as irresponsible and selfish. In response, DeSantis rightly noted that it was Harris who was playing political games with a natural disaster. She has never called on any of, She has never called on any of the storms we've had since she's been vice president until apparently now. Biden has twice been asked about the dispute, and to the world's surprise, he's now twice come to the defense of the conservative governor, leaving Harris twisting in the wind. On Tuesday, Biden was asked whether DeSantis had been cooperative and coordinating with the federal government. Not only did the president reply in the affirmative, he said he had thanked DeSantis for doing a great job. Then on Wednesday, Biden was asked directly if DeSantis should be taking Harris's calls. "All I can tell you is I've talked to Governor DeSantis," Biden replied. "He's been very gracious. He's thanked me for all we've done. He knows what we're doing, and I think that's important. In a career full of indignities, this humiliation should leave even a cynic, a creature as Harris reeling." Well, that's a weird way of putting it. In a career full of indignities, this humiliation should leave even as cynical a creature as Harris reeling. There we go. Yes, I mean, she has not had the best political career. That's easy. And you're going to say, Frank, she's vice president of the United States. I get it, but it's not based on wins. It was based on really Biden's overall decision. You look at losing at that point it was 2019. It wasn't even 2020. And now we see a campaign that is not doing as well as maybe they had hoped. Faced with a question about the Harris-DeSantis spat, the president explicitly sided with the Republican. Even Biden can't deny that his Veep is a crude opportunist, one who once came within inches of accusing him, well, not inches, of being racist, essentially, in the primaries. It's been theorized that Biden is deliberately, here we go, ready? It is being theorized that Biden is deliberately undermining Harris as revenge for his ouster from the Democratic ticket earlier this year. And reports have indicated that there is tension between the pair's camps as Harris balances her dueling interests in remaining loyal to Biden and distancing herself from Biden. But Biden wouldn't set out to sabotage his right hand. If she loses, Biden will be castigated as the bumbling fool whose presidency was so great a failure that he handed the White House back to Trump. I disagree with that. That's where I disagree, but I'll continue. If she wins, at least the Democrats will rewrite history to remember him as a selfless elder statesman who gave up power to beat the Donald. That point is true. By the way, did you see when they said the elder statesman? I saw a report yesterday. They're trying to say behind the scenes that it was Biden looking old, not acting old, that cost him his reelection, that they said he can't win just because he looks old, that he's sharp as a tack. They're kind of writing this new narrative as if you didn't see the debate. And let's face it, memories don't last that long sometimes. And so they're trying to say, never mind what you saw in the debate. He's actually great, sharp as a tack, always does his homework, great job behind closed doors, but he does look old. And that's why they ousted him. But you know my thought on this. And good, I mean, really good on Biden for saying no. DeSantis has done a good job. But my thought on this is there is kind of a part to Biden's ego that would like to see Trump win so that he could come out and say, see, I was the only one that could beat him. And yet you ousted me because you, the elites in the Democrat Party, knew better. And remember, he's always kind of had a chip on his shoulder for some of those elites because they've always, even Obama, they've always thought of him as kind of lesser. They've always thought of him as, look at how many kind of insulting things Obama has said about him in the past, which some I can't even use the words here on the air. So I think there's a little bit there that they never had the faith in Biden. This is Biden's way of thinking. Never had the faith in Biden. So Biden is saying, okay, you knew better. But I don't think that's what this is all about. I don't think he's trying to sabotage Harris for this relief. I think he's just literally saying, no, DeSantis has been good. This isn't a time to turn politics. And Kristen Fleming said that the hypocrisy of this all, that Harris is using the deadly storms for political gain, it's gross, is the exact term that Kristen Fleming uses. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we come back. A lot of waves coming in. A lot of... a lot of comments coming in. We'll get to them in just a little bit. Stay with us. Oops. I added a wave. I was so excited to add that wave that I didn't go to break.
Have you been unable to work for over a year due to a mental or physical disability?
Were you recently denied Social Security disability benefits? Great news. You may be eligible for money, back pay, relief.
If you've been pre-qualified and diagnosed with a recognized condition that prohibits you from working, our lawyers can file a claim to get your disability benefit.
Call us today and find out more.
Call now, 844-617-0440.
How many times have you tried to clean a stubborn mess but end up with no success? What you need is the all-new waterproof Ruby Horsepower, the new cordless and rechargeable power scrubber that cleans faster and easier, guaranteed. Watch, baked on oven grease is no match. It easily blasts away dirt and grime in no time. The power comes from our rotating brushes spinning at 350 RPM. The incredible torque fights calcium, soap, mildew, mold, and more. Forget harsh chemicals. With just plain water, Horsepower can clean bathroom tiles and tubs back to their original shine and luster. It's a game changer in the kitchen where it busts through caked on crud. take it outside and tackle tough tasks with ease. How strong is horsepower? We took this distressed 100-year-old antique and restored it to like new with horsepower. Amazing! Get your Ruby Horsepower Scrubber today with bonus scouring sponge for just $39.99. Save on buying batteries. It's powered with the latest rechargeable technology. But wait, you'll also get this stainless steel brush to make range hoods and gas stoves look brand new again. Yours free. And we're not done. You'll get this Smart Flex cone brush that fits perfectly into corners, tiny crevices on toilets and tiles, or hard to reach shower door rails. Yours free. And to top it off, we'll include this microfiber cloth to clean delicate surfaces and polish cars sparkling clean. It's also free. Great news! Horsepower is now in stock and ready to ship, but due to high demand, there is a strict limit of 2 per order. Order now.
Call 1-800-980-4241. That's 1-800-980-4241 or visit horsepowerscrubber.com. So call 1-800-980-4241 now.
And we are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio as we overlook Marcus Street with the roof cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Okay. Quick comment from Ken. You are correct on the stand up to hate. I just saw a clip on the nightly news talking about putting down hate that is rising in this country, which immediately made me think politics. That is why, Ken, when you said that, I had to look it up because I could not agree more. The ad didn't mention anti-Semitism. I just Googled it and see it has the many names and it is focused on anti-Semitism, which is a good thing. I totally agree. I was glad to be wrong because I agree with you 100%. I said, oh, here we go. Like you said, this close to election. So it was nice to Google search and say, wait, this could be an actual good thing. Okay, again, Kristen Fleming saying this is hypocritical, Kamala Harris, and gross for using the deadly storms for political gain, and it also shows that her campaign could be floundering. With her gale force winds of desperation, the vice president has tried so hard to appear presidential by inserting herself into the storm efforts this week. And as Andrew Mitchell was saying, she desperately, I'm adding a little bit of hyperbole there, but essentially he's saying that Harris is desperate to make it look like she's the one doing everything, but it's tough to do when, for instance, she's in Las Vegas for Univision or she's campaigning, right? But she's come across like a party crasher trying to get into the VIP section of an A-list party. As Governor DeSantis said more bluntly, she has no role in this process. Still, Harris worked the phones as Milton blew in, calling into the Weather Channel and CNN to blast Trump and DeSantis for politicizing the disaster. The hypocrisy. Last night, she posted to her account on X a video conversation with St. Petersburg, Florida Mayor Ken Welch, a shamelessly transparent campaign ad that had all the authenticity of a Canal Street Gucci belt. You know, those Rolexes on Times Square, right? Thank you for just answering the call to lead in the way that you have in a time of crisis, Harris said. Folks are looking in your eyes to see something in you that lets them know that everything is going to be okay. Welch, who had a lot on his plate, clearly tossed her campaign a bone as he said he appreciated her partnership. The Harris cleanup effort all kicked off Monday when it was reported that DeSantis didn't pick up the call. We know all that. We've been going through that. And really, DeSantis, you know, I know DeSantis is a good political, what's the word I want to use? Political-minded person. I mean, he would normally take a shot at a Democrat, right? Say, hey, boom, this is bad. But not at a time of crisis. And he seemed exasperated. He didn't want this. He didn't want anything political to come out of this. He wants help for his people from the Biden-Harris administration. And that's why him and Biden are like old chums now. Biden even saying he's doing a great job. And I guess she even doubled down on it on The View, which is kind of tough to criticize, you know, maybe a DeSantis or for not doing anything, or I don't know, she's not saying that, but not doing enough, or Trump, or being critical of these people while you're on The View. She called CNN and accused Trump of spreading disinformation about FEMA. So again, the hypocrisy of all this. And keep in mind, Trump put 275 lineman up in his Trump Doral, I always have trouble with that word, Doral, as they are already to respond to the aftermath of Hurricane Milton in his resort there. Now, the network noted that Trump had also offered an interview but did not respond, was offered an interview but did not respond. Even more jarring, Joe Biden seems to gleefully be leaving Harris out in the cold. That is the interesting point. But Harris is right. A natural disaster is about the safety of Americans and not a time to wade into politics. It's a shame she spent the last few days doing exactly that. The Post editorial board, I would say, how am I doing on time? Took it a step further, saying that it shows that Harris truly doesn't care, that it's more of a political expediency. She cares about, first and foremost, Harris, right? Vice President Kamala Harris can't even stumble her way through an emergency storm briefing without making it all about her. As Hurricane Milton approached Florida, Biden hosted a public briefing with a number of high officials. Reasonable enough. Harris, who appeared by Zoom for some reason, a bizarre choice in itself, suddenly seemed to be distracted by something beyond the camera, raised her hand to cover her mouth, and then barked out, "It's a live broadcast." So even then it was about her. The fact that she was over Zoom had to be because, again, for political reasons, she's out campaigning. Plainly, she was hushing off-screen staffers who were trying to feed her lines to make it look like she had something useful to add. And just the thing to inspire confidence in the frightened people of Florida and the voters Harris is seeking to win over. This after her embarrassing attempt to score a gotcha against DeSantis, and DeSantis not even wanting to turn it political and not into a gotcha game, really just devastated her with what he had to say powerfully, that she has no power in this. She has done nothing in this. She is not a part of this process. Again, the New York Post editorial board, only to be utterly demolished first by DeSantis himself, who pointed out she has nothing to do with the disaster relief, and then by Biden, who praised DeSantis's excellent hands-on management. And we talked about Harris in the video earlier. This is the woman who wants to lead the free world. A serial word saladist, ooh, I like that, with an utterly disastrous policy record, who has somehow also managed to fumble a tremendous nonpartisan opportunity to show voters she does care about what happens to them. That's what it is. Not to make it about politics, not to make it about we hate Trump and we hate conservatives or whatever, to make it look like she cares, has the empathy that they always tried to label Biden with, whether or not you agree with that label, but they always tried to label Biden with that. She didn't even give the media who wants to do that an opportunity to do so. And in her hurricane debacle, as in all else, the border, the economy, everything, it shows that she doesn't care. That's from the New York Post. All right. I've got some good, wow, we got a lot of comments. Thank you. Where do we want to go? We're going to go to the campaigns itself. I know that sounded very campaigny, but it wasn't. It was more about the hurricane response. And unfortunately, the unnecessary politicalization of it when it should be focused on the residents that dealt with so much. And we've said so often that thoughts and prayers go out to them because it's just overwhelming when you look at some of the damage. And it shouldn't be about politicalization. It's just as if when you see, there's so many stories that you'll see in the news where, and kind of to Ken's point that we were talking about earlier, when you see something that says stand up for hate, it gets you worried because sadly you say, how is the media and the left going to use this story or this group or this issue to turn it against Trump and his supporters or Republicans in general? And you see it so often. You know, it's when there's, for instance, a shooting, and you want to just grieve and you want to look and say, what happened? Where did we go wrong? And instead, the media will jump on it and the politicians will jump on it to call for gun control. And it's always political. And this was an example of something that should not have been politicized at all, where Harris had a prime opportunity to come out and look presidential, and she took the low road. When they go high, or when they go low, we go high. She went the complete opposite. And I think it reflected poorly. And I think that's why the media itself is trying to distance that story from her, where they wanted to attach her to the storm recovery. And so far, she has made it nearly impossible. We got to take another break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
Isn't this important? Don't you want more energy? Now is the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. Hesselson's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselson's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselson's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
I'm Nancy O'Dell. This is Crime Expose.
It's chilling, it's haunting.
We knew exactly who it was.
Blood stains on her shorts.
See you in September.
And we are back. Where is this hour going? My goodness. You're looking at the roof cam, of course, overlooking historic Market Street. The roof cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. And we're broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. I've got great news for you. And you are going to be surprised. Not by the timing, because we're well, not even, well less than a month away from Election Day. And it's Friday. Maybe you're planning your shopping list to go out today, tomorrow, just to get ready for the week ahead. Good news for you. Groceries are more affordable now than in 2019. Are you excited? According to MarketWatch.com, for the average worker, grocery prices are about strong wording, about as affordable as they were pre-pandemic. But the costs are still a sore spot for consumers and a focus of the 2024 election. So again, and I feel foolish saying it over and over again, but I guess the American voter just will not learn. Ignore your receipts. Ignore your bills. I don't mean ignoring, I mean pay them. Don't ignore your bills, but ignore the costs of these things. Because according to MarketWatch and their stats, you're doing good right now. Everything's fine. I know your groceries have made it so you have to maybe get off brands, get less. You're not, you're really picking and choosing so that you can just make sure you have something on the table for you and your family. I know you're experiencing that, but that's just not the case. It's actually more affordable than in the boom of 2019 when we had peace and prosperity before COVID hit. Listen. If you can't understand it, that's not my fault. For more than 2 years now, higher prices have been pinching consumer wallets and testing their patience. But there's at least one part of their monthly budget that has more breathing room these days. For the average U.S. worker, it now takes fewer hours of work to afford a week's worth of groceries than it did 5 years ago, in August of 2019. That's according to a MarketWatch analysis of wage and inflation data that shows how the price of food relative to wages has fluctuated in recent years. In other words, despite substantial post-pandemic increases in food costs, wages have now more than caught up with the price in this crucial spending category. And it's easier for the average American worker to put food on the table than it was a couple of years ago. Yet the next segment says, why are higher grocery prices still so painful? The annual inflation rate for groceries, which the government calls food at home, has slowed significantly since peaking at about 13.5% in August of 2022. But the impact of those price increases will reverberate for years, economists say. That's partly because most of us had gotten used to pretty consistent prices at the grocery stores. Anyway, I'm not going to go through and read their numbers. This is very reminiscent of Don Lemon, when, remember that he was interviewing voters and they said, I can't afford my groceries. And he goes, no, according to the stats here I have on this paper, that's just not the case. So again, I guess all I could say is call up Market Watch when you check your checkings and savings account tonight, after buying groceries, after paying the bills, and maybe call them and say, are you sure? I just want to double check. Because it doesn't seem that way to me. It doesn't seem like we're living in boon times. It seems like maybe we're struggling as a country. And again, it's not what happens with your eyes, and in this case, your stomach. Never mind what you're seeing with your eyes and feeling with your stomach. Trust Market Watch, trust Don Lemon, because, and so many others. You see it nearly every interview. It's the disclaimer of, now we're actually doing very good economically. We're doing really well, inflation, and really voters should be happy. Why aren't they? So they give that disclaimer of, hey, but that's what's so interesting about inflation. Because it's not like other political issues where they can lie to you and you may not feel it until it's too late. This is one where they can lie to you and you're saying, wait a minute. I hate that cliche term. We have the receipts. It's like this kind of hipster saying or something. But in this case, we literally have the receipts. And those receipts break your heart when you go to the grocery store. So anyway, it turns out they shouldn't, and everything's hunky-dory. So let's go to the campaigns, because obviously that is somewhat a campaign ad in and of itself, isn't it, that article? Isn't that an example of the media maybe putting their thumb on the scale a little bit, trying to tell you, no, things are good. We're going to talk about the campaigns. I know I'm running a little bit late. Yeah, let's take our last break before we wrap up this hour and get ready to go into hour number 2. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on Big Fox.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
Great drivers change lanes very fast, but with no outside mirrors. How come they don't crash? Introducing Angel View, the new wide-angle mirror that reduces blind spots. Angel View simply snaps over your car's rear view mirror, giving you a 160-degree view behind you. Just look at the difference. Look, ordinary rear view mirrors are small and flat, but Angel View has a huge mirror with curved glass. This convex shape allows you to see both blind spots with one glance. And with our Pro Edition special coating, it's anti-glare at night. Get your Angel View now for just $19.99. But wait, Angel View may be discontinued. Due to rising costs, Angel View is stopping manufacturing effective immediately. Once the current inventory is gone, it's gone forever. Order now.
Call 1-800-897-0371 or visit getangelview.com. Order.
Wrapping up hour number 1 as we overlook Market Street. Foggy out this morning, isn't it? Looks very Halloween-y. The camera brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for your business and home security needs. We're broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. So many comments. First couple comments here from viewers is about the article that I just brought to you at Market Watch. Groceries are more affordable now than in 2019. First up, apparently they use the new math to make those wild assumptions. That's a very good point. Different viewer. What? Upside down, wrong way. Peach Fuzz did the grocery cost analysis. I know you already said who. Just wanted to essentially say what a bunch of idiots. Here's the thing. I don't know. Maybe you just don't get it. Maybe you just don't understand that everything's affordable and that we're living in really lush times. You just want to just keep sending your grocery receipts to Market Watch. Okay, another comment. I missed this one a little bit earlier on in the program. Vote no on Proposition 1. Thank you. We had guests on, what was it? Was it Wednesday? Essentially saying what, and I'm going to continue what this comment has to say, saying the same thing. We're going to talk more about that as we near the election. That will not be the last time we discuss it, because I can't tell you how many people have come up to me after that discussion about Prop 1 and said thank you, mainly because it's been so silent on the issue. There hasn't been discussion on the issue. So a lot of people don't even know that New York State Constitutional Amendment, Prop 1, will be on the ballot in November. So they'll go in blind. And it's written in a way where, as one of our guests said, in a way that makes you think, well, of course I'm for diversity. Of course I don't want discrimination. And that's not what, at the end of the day, it's all about. If you even recall, and I think probably the most powerful part of that interview was with Bobby Ann Cox saying that she's not a Republican. And she's saying vote no. She's a lawyer. She's saying vote no. She made it very clear. We're going to have her back on the program. But also Senator George Barillo did a great job just highlighting how bad that Prop 1 is. And I'll continue with this viewer's comment. Vote no on Proposition 1, a sneaky, nefarious attempt by the New York State one-party government Democrats to keep power forever and bestow American citizens' rights onto anyone, illegals especially. These protections are already in place for American citizens, so why the push for a copycat? It's deviously worded to favor illegal immigrants and will do nothing for New York State taxpayers. And you know what? Thank you for that comment. That's one important part of that. There's 12 other changes, as Bobby Ann Cox mentioned, or 11 more, I should say, 12 total. So yes, I won the nationality status. That's the implications there. Many have said it about illegal migrants voting, is because it is, again, worded in a way that is so open-ended that anything can come from it. So thank you for that. Next up, good morning, Frank. Well, hey, good morning. When will America wake up to the realization that Trump is not a smooth-talking politician, but a proven, successful businessman who our country desperately needs to clean up the Biden-Harris mess? God help us all. Thank you very much for all those comments. Keep them coming in. It's hard to believe hour number 1 is nearly in the books. And it's also hard to believe that groceries are more affordable now than in 2019. Hey, guess who's going to be hitting the campaign trail for Harris? He was a social pariah, a political pariah just a few years ago at the height of the Me Too movement. Now is all is forgotten. Mr. Bill Clinton, President Bill Clinton, is going to hit the battleground states for Harris. There was a time, I mean, think about it. I know we talked about this actually a couple times, I think, with former Congressman Joe Semplinsky. But I remember that even Gillibrand, Senator Gillibrand, who really got to where she was because of Hillary Clinton. So you would think she would be very much behind the Clintons. She turned on Bill at the height of the Me Too movement. And there was talks of, no longer having him at campaign rallies. And then we hear about the fundraiser for Biden at the time where he was involved. And then he's got a speaking spot at the DNC. So I guess all is forgotten, or I don't know if the Me Too movement has fallen by the wayside. It doesn't seem to, but there doesn't seem to be any criticism. Former President Bill Clinton will hit the trail this weekend to begin what is expected to be a very targeted push across battleground states through Election Day. The former president will seek to appeal to rural voters, among whom polls have shown Harris is performing worse than some of the last few Democrat nominees, particularly among young black men. Former President Barack Obama is also hitting the trail. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But we are out of time for this hour. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox. Just 1 hour left together, so let's enjoy it. No guests this morning, so it's just you and I, and we've had great comments already. So as I said, keep them coming in, keep those waves coming in, and we will be right back after this.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
Rated the hearing aids of 2023 by Forbes, the Audien Atom 2 series offers superior sound quality and functionality for a fraction of the price. For just $189 a pair, the Atom 2 features 4 different hearing modes for all types of hearing loss. It packs crystal clear sound, a nearly invisible design, and is even rechargeable.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids. They're so comfortable, I forget I'm wearing them. And the sound is amazing.
The Atom Pro 2 is our smallest hearing aid yet, featuring advanced background noise cancellation, and is the world's first hearing aid with built-in UV cleaning that kills 99% of bacteria.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed without seeing a doctor or having a hearing test.
Join over 500,000 happy customers today and get the hearing you deserve.
Call 1-800-434-9816 or go to audienhearing.com to get your pair of Audien hearing aids starting at just $189.
Hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking. Thank you so much for joining us. I've got to say, well, a couple of things here. First of all, a comment from a viewer. Let's kick off hour number 2 with an important, and I think one that could get some discussion going and anger a lot of people. This is from a viewer saying, I'm retired and Social Security is not keeping pace with inflation. Absolutely. Next year, Social Security is only going up 2.5%. Yes, do you know that is the lowest COLA bump since 2021? At a time when, well, I guess that has to do with the fact that groceries are more affordable now than in 2019, and that inflation is pretty much stopping. I don't know, that's not the right word, but it's slowing down. Everything is hunky-dory in the economy. So I guess Washington, specifically the White House, are seeing the point that, hey, everything's doing good economically. Groceries are cheap. Everything's great. So why would retirees who paid into Social Security their whole life, why would they need to see an increase for inflation? There is no inflation. Things are good. So I understand your frustration, but if you want, I could send you the copy of the MarketWatch.com story, I guess to fill your stomach. I don't know what it would do. To comfort you? Maybe explain to you while everything's doing wonderfully. It's worth a shot if that helps. I've got to mention real quickly, and just because it was such a blast, and I hope I talked to so many people yesterday that watched Frankly Speaking at the pasta dinner fundraiser. What a fun time. As always, Augie and the whole crew did a great job with the pasta dinner. And that was all going to benefit the San Giovanni Valderno Sister Cities Committee. Of course, we had the students and teachers on the program yesterday that are visiting. 9 students, 2 teachers, and it was fun to see them. I'm not sure if they liked television all that much, but it was good to see them. It was good to see all the people that are involved in the committee, and it was a good turnout. And I was there early, so I'm sure it only grew throughout the evening, but. Again, kudos for a great dinner, but also for such a fun organization. And I can't tell them enough, and I reached out and thanked them for having the kids on every year. I just have a blast with them on. Okay, let's get back to the political aspect of things. Well, since I'm making announcements, let me do one more announcement at the top of the hour, because I received so many comments on this about the interview with Muriel Anderson on the program Wednesday, I believe. Don't forget that the concert is this Sunday at 2 p.m. Muriel Anderson will be at Marriage Music. And the best part of it, not only do you get to hear great music, one of the greatest harp guitarists. Look at that. It looks so neat, the harp guitar. Not only do you get to see great music, have a nice Sunday afternoon, but the proceeds go to benefit flood victims in need. And at what a time in our area. So thank you to Muriel Anderson for being on the program early in the week, and I can't wait to see her on Sunday. Okay. An emotional Obama makes his harshest case yet against Trump at that Pittsburgh rally for Harris. I think it's interesting that the pitch isn't for Harris. is not what for Harris can do. It's always a case against Trump. And I think that goes back, and I hate to keep quoting Howard Stern because he gave that essentially propaganda interview. But to quote Howard Stern that I'm going to vote for you, Harris, but I would also vote for this wall. So it's not about Harris as this headline, and that headline is from CNN. It's not about Harris. It's about not being Trump. And that's what they're banking on. That's what they're hoping on. And there's voters out there, and you may not like it. You may like it. Maybe you, may not be you. But there are voters that do not care what Harris will bring to the job of presidency, what plans or policies she has for the country, because all that matters is it's not Trump. So it doesn't matter really at all. I mean, she doesn't even really have to give her policies. That's what some people believe. I remember when she first came out, I said I thought she wasn't a popular candidate to people. I thought they didn't want her to run for president. And essentially the people told me it doesn't matter. It could be a sandwich. It could be Donald Duck, as long as it's not Donald Trump. And since I quoted Howard Stern, let me just go on a side tangent here before we get back into what Obama had to say. Did you see Trump weighing in on the Howard Stern interview? Beta male Howard Stern made a fool of himself on his low-rated radio show when he interviewed lying Kamala Harris. And he put interview in quotes. And hit her with so many softball questions that even she was embarrassed. He looked like a real fool, working so hard to make a totally incompetent and ill-equipped person look as good as possible, which wasn't very good. Yeah, well, I mean, that's who Howard Stern has been lately, the kind of really fawning over Democrats. I don't want to go through all of what Harris had to say. I just wanted to give you an update from yesterday. Okay, so Obama got emotional. And in CNN, I don't like this, but Stephen Collinson says, Obama, the hopey-changey guy, tries to close the deal for Harris. Exactly 16 years ago, an impossibly young-looking Barack Obama was barnstorming through Iowa on a bus tour, electrifying huge crowds and closing the deal on his 2008 election victory. On another October night on Thursday, the 63-year-old ex-president was back on stage with a vast American flag for backdrop, trying to do for Kamala Harris what she so far struggled to do herself, put away the 2024 election. The snowy-haired Obama had swapped Ohio, which ceased to be a closely contested presidential state as soon as he left the White House, for this year's potentially decisive state, Pennsylvania. That the hope and change prophet of 2008 is still his party's most effective political orator 4 presidential elections later is an indictment of Democrats, but the urgency of his message in Pittsburgh told a more immediate story. His nemesis, Donald Trump, may be poised for an Oval Office return. Again, this was not about Harris. This was about Trump. We don't need 4 more years of arrogance and bumbling and bluster and division. America is ready to turn the page, Obama said. We are ready for a better story, one that helped us work together instead of turning against each other. Pennsylvania, we're ready for President Kamala Harris. Sometimes it takes, again, this is Stephen Collinson from CNN. Sometimes it takes a former president to provide the clarity of argument that a candidate embroiled in a bitter race can't make themselves. That happened before in 2012 when Bill Clinton took Obama's re-election pitch and created a rationale for voters weary of economic pain to send him back to the White House. Obama on Thursday painted a searing picture of Trump as a malicious, ridiculous, and incompetent menace, while trying to weave a rhetorical case for voters who are feeling economically insecure to vote for Harris, who is part of an incumbent administration nonetheless. Obama said, I'm the hopey-changey guy, so I understand people feel frustrated, feeling we can do better. What I cannot understand is why anybody would think that Donald Trump will shake up things in a way that is good for you, Pennsylvania. I don't understand that. Now, this leads into Stephen Collinson admitting that Democrats are beginning to worry about Harris's prospects. A source familiar with Obama's remarks said he's clear-eyed about how close this race is. But instead of talking about what Harris will bring and the hope and change that she'll bring, they focused on Trump, which, I mean, speaks volumes perhaps of what they believe in Harris. Now, Obama's remarks were directed especially at traditional Republicans who may abhor Trump's conduct and the male voters who form his power base, Earlier, Obama had sought to shore up another traditionally Democratic constituency, black men, and we will talk about that in a moment. I just wanted to give you a little bit of how CNN is reacting to this, and you can see a little bit. This isn't to take anything lightly, folks. This is by no means a sure thing. You're just starting to see their concern with Harris's polling numbers, not just internally, but what is being reported on in the news. Obama stressed on Thursday, whether this election is making you feel excited or scared or hopeful or frustrated or anything in between, do not just sit back and hope for the best. Get off your couch and vote. Put down your phone and vote. Grab your friends and family and vote. Vote for Kamala Harris as the next president of the United States. Again, I don't know why there'd be concerns about the economy, though. I don't know why he would even bring that up when the economy is doing great, according to MarketWatch. But Obama admits that the Harris campaign doesn't have the energy of his White House run. This is what Obama said. We have yet to see the same kinds of energy and turnout in all corners of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. Kind of a rough way of putting that, isn't it? That kind of a pat on your back. And that's a Harris. This is kind of like Howard Stern's endorsement, for heaven's sakes. That you're saying, not as exciting as when I ran, but hey, Harris is doing a great job. We have yet to see the same kinds of energy and turnout in all corners of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. Seems like a better way to word that, a little insulting. But anyway, I also want to say that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers, referring to black men, black voters. You're coming up with all kinds of reasons and excuses. I've got a problem with that. Part of it makes me think that, well, you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president, and you're coming up with other alternatives and other reasons for that. Obama argued that it is not acceptable for black men to support Trump. That's a not acceptable, powerful word, not acceptable. I didn't know there was a set of rules on that, but polling indicates a higher percentage of black Americans are planning to vote for former President Trump in 2024 than did in 2020, which is impressive, with 1 in 4 black men under 50 backing the 45th president. And now you're thinking about sitting out or supporting somebody who has a history of denigrating you because you think that's a sign of strength, because that's what being a man is, putting women down. That's not acceptable, Obama said. At the rally, the first series of swing state events that will feature the first and only black president in American history, stumping for Harris in the run-up to Election Day, Obama became most animated as he railed against men who believe Trump is the stronger candidate. I'm sorry, gentlemen, I noticed this, especially with some men who seem to think Trump's behavior, pulling and putting people down, is a sign of strength. And I'm here to tell you that is not what real strength is. The good news is that you have candidates to vote for in this election that demonstrate the kind of care, what real strength looks like, who will set a good example and to do the right thing and leave the country better than when they found it. Now, earlier in his remarks, Obama acknowledged that rising prices under the Harris-Biden administration, which he, of course, attributed to the COVID-19 pandemic, have put a strain on family budgets. I get why people are looking to shake things up. I am the hopey, changey guy. So I understand people feeling frustrated and feeling we can do better. What I cannot understand is why anybody would think that Donald Trump will shake things up in a way that is good for you. Wait a minute. I wonder why Obama didn't just show a graph of the MarketWatch article about groceries being affordable. That could have saved a lot of time at the rally, convinced a lot of voters that things aren't that bad. I'm not going to go through and fall into that trap of just quoting everything he said. But it's interesting. Hey, not as much energy when I was running. Hey, I understand the economy is not that great. That you're struggling right now. And that's interesting because, again, no matter how much the media tries, you cannot deny the fact that Harris has been in office for nearly 4 years. So these policies are attached to her. She has said at times distancing herself from Biden, but at other times saying that I was there for all the important decisions. So, yes, Obama calls out, and I quote, this coming from Fox News, brothers apprehensive to vote for Harris, you're thinking of sitting out, frustrated. So let's take a break, read some comments when we come back. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Have you been unable to work for over a year due to a mental or physical disability?
Were you recently denied Social Security disability benefits? Great news. You may be eligible for money, back pay, relief.
If you've been pre-qualified and diagnosed with a recognized condition that prohibits you from working, our lawyers can file a claim to get your disability benefit.
Call us today and find out more.
Call now 844-617-0440.
Ranger 1000 equipped for whatever comes your way. If you have the know-how to take on what comes, the new Ranger 1000 delivers what you need to make short work of it.
Ithaca Recreation Sports, Route 13 in Newfield. Get outside and ride.
Y'all got a lot of stuff here in your water.
You're never gonna believe it, but this can filter up to 60 different contaminants from your water.
It's all about cleaner drinking water.
Dude, that's good water.
And that's good water.
Now that's good water.
That's good water, eh?
No matter where you live, there's a Culligan water expert nearby. At Culligan, we think about your water, so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
Now there's a product that sears food, stirs it, even shreds it for you. Introducing the Power Excel StirMax Multi-Cooker with a built-in auto stirrer that gives you the freedom of adding your ingredients and walking away and coming back to meals that cook up to 60% faster. No more stirring food. StirMax technology automatically rotates the paddle clockwise, then counterclockwise, so it stirs it for you. Powerful enough to even shred food. Then the 7.5 quart pot goes right to the table to serve. With a premium ceramic coating, nothing sticks. And it's dishwasher safe. Now you can try the Power Excel StirMax Multi-Cooker with lid and recipe guide in your home for 30 days for just $14.99. You also get the steamer and rice basket for healthy meals, StirMax serving spoon that snaps in place for easy serving, and $100 in free grocery coupons. We'll even ship your order all absolutely free. This is an exclusive TV-only offer, so order now.
Football's newest show breaks down all things NFL. GMFB Overtime.
Check out top highlights, player interviews, special guests, and everything in between. 5 days a week.
GMFB Overtime. It's
The Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact Boss Security for all your business and home security needs. I know I said, as we welcome you back to the Hesselson studio, I know I said I was going to read comments when we got back, but I ran up to get my iced tea and I ran late, so I haven't read them all. We will after the next break. That is not a way to keep you hooked. That was a way of realizing that that I don't have a lot of time during breaks to do very much. As you can tell, as I'm a little out of breath. Okay. Let's get to it. Let's get back to the Harris campaign and enough about Obama's rallies. I know he'll have more. We'll have more to talk about with that coming up. But that ex-CBS staffer that we mentioned, I believe is the one that we mentioned yesterday. They're calling for an outside probe of the 60 Minutes interview. To just update you quickly on that, what happened, or catch you up if you're not familiar, what had happened is if you watched the promo for the interview with Harris, she gives kind of a long, lengthy word salad type response to a question on Israel. That started getting a lot of criticism, saying, wow, Harris didn't look good, that type of thing on social media. So what did 60 Minutes do? When they actually broadcast the interview, it had been edited to look more clear and concise of an answer. And so now, and there's a couple times where they spoke, or one time at least, where they spoke over her in a voiceover and kind of tried to explain what she was going to say. It was really weird. So now people, rightfully, the Trump campaign and others, saying we want the full transcript. We want to see what was said, what the answers were, and specifically ex-CBS staffers. Former CBS News staffers are demanding an independent investigation into 60 Minutes over the brewing Kamala Harris interview scandal, even as the network stubbornly digs its heels and refuses to release the full unedited transcript. Now, why would that be? If you believe in the product that you put out, why would you refuse to release the unedited transcript? Now, I think most people have accepted the fact that some interviews are cut up a little bit for time, maybe for a flub or something like that. I'm not talking word salad, but hold on, can I get the question again? You know, some of that stuff we get to a point. Now, I never did it here on this program. because ours are mostly live or live to tape. So I don't quite understand it, but that's what I understand the mainstream media does. In this case, they're hiding behind that they're not going to release a transcript, which should raise huge red flags. The sad thing is, this is mostly being reported or only being reported at conservative outlets. It's not like CBS is reporting on this. And I've got a feeling the mainstream media is still going to protect each other. Even though you would think they would want to turn on rivals, they would not. The long-running news show has come under fire for allegedly cleaning up the Democrat presidential candidate's answers to questions when she spoke to Bill Whitaker. And a lot of people speculated it got cleaned up because it started to receive attention, how bad her answer was. The controversy had prompted media insiders and critics, including Donald Trump, to question the ethical standards at CBS. I think there should be an outside investigation, one former CBS News journalist told the New York Post. Obviously, there's a problem here. If they care about journalistic integrity, they would conduct an investigation or release the full transcript. But think about the fact that's how cocky the mainstream media is in a way, that they can say, put out that first one and go, we're just going to put out another one. We're just going to cut it and put out a better one for her. And what are you going to do? And the sad thing is, I would tend to agree with their what are you going to do thing, because I think it just goes away. They don't release a transcript and whatever comes of it. No, there's not enough pushback from outside sources that should be pushing back. Good on these ex-CBS staffers, good on Trump, good on Republican critics, but it's not going to gain enough traction if they don't want it to, because they only have to make it less than a month before it's definitely a non-story anymore. Before, yes, from years from now, there will always be a Republican on some outlet saying, well, remember when CBS wouldn't release a transcript? But it's not going to have the impact that the impact of that transcript would have. Do you see? Because no news media outlet wants to be the one that hurts Harris, as we've seen time and time again, whether it was the moderators at the debates, whether it's these cushy interviews. Bill Whitaker kind of pushed it a little bit with a couple of fair questions, but didn't push it as he would if it were Trump or Vance. A second CBS source said the discrepancy in the answers makes it seem the network's flagship show is biased. Their credibility has been called into question, and their impartiality has been called into question. Don't you need a full-throated review of what went wrong? CBS again declined multiple requests from the New York Post to release the full transcript. The network did not comment on whether it planned on launching a probe into the matter. However, CBS has a history of both releasing full transcripts of its news programs and launching probes. In 2013, the network investigated a 60-minute segment by correspondent Laura Logan about a terror attack on the U.S. compound in Benghazi that left Ambassador Chris Stevens and 3 other Americans dead. The probe, led by the then Executive Director of Standards and Practices, Al Ortiz, discredited the report, finding it deficient in several respects. Logan and producer were asked to take a leave of absence. I'm not going to go through the whole history of when they released or didn't release and like that. But obviously, these should be released. Releasing a full transcript would provide clarity about where Harris's answers came from, but it may also raise more questions about 60 Minutes impartiality. Other networks also publish full transcripts of high-profile interviews that are unedited, such as Biden in July and CNN with a Harris sit-down with Tim Walz. I just do not see CBS jumping into this and actually saying, here's the transcript. Do you? That's the question I posed to you this morning. Do you think CBS will be pressured into it? I do not believe so. And again, you can find this full piece at the New York Post, where they give you all the kind of the history of this and the cuts and what they did. The Harris campaign distanced itself from the CBS edit snafu. I don't think it's a mistake. I think they knew what they were doing, and they just don't care, right? We don't control CBS's production decisions and refer questions to CBS, the campaign said. On Thursday, Federal Communications Commission Chair Jessica Rosenworcel pushed back on Trump's attacks on the broadcast station. She called his demand to strip CBS of its license threats against free speech that should not be ignored. See, they're all in cahoots. Let's take a break. We'll read your comments when we come back. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
Isn't it most important? Don't you want more energy? Now is the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. Hesselson's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselson's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselson's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
What's up, guys? What I'm about to show you is going to change the way you shave your head forever.
You can shave your head in 90 seconds or less.
With no cuts or nicks. It's 100% waterproof.
It even works in the shower.
Introducing Remington's Balder Boss. With increased flex and 5 dual-track floating head design, get over 60% more head coverage for a faster, closer shave and skin-close results.
No nicks, no scrapes. Fit in the palm of my hand, and the results were amazing.
Shave in the shower or with any foam or gel. With Japanese-grade steel blades, plow through the thickest of hair. Anytime, anywhere. There's even a pop-up trimmer to complete your perfect groove. Now, you can try the Remington Balder Boss in your home for 30 days for just $14.99. Complete with a 5-year limited warranty and 100% satisfaction guarantee. You can also get our ear, nose, and brow trimmer free. Just pay separate processing and handling.
Give it a try. You won't be disappointed.
Order your Balder Boss now.
I'm Nancy O'Dell. This is Crime Expose.
It's chilling, it's haunting.
We knew exactly who it was.
Blood stains on her shorts.
See you in September.
And we are back. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact Boss Security for all your business and home security needs. We're broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. Thank you so much for joining us. So many comments coming in. To the first viewer, without getting into the details, or to the first viewer's comment in this section that had referenced radio. I appreciate that. Yes, I was in radio, obviously, for, I think, 14 years we did the radio show. I don't see your suggestion happening for various reasons, but I do appreciate it, and it would be great if it did, but I don't think so. Okay, next up, random thought of the day. Frank, remember in school, I'm going to say this one because I really like this one. Hold on. I like all of them. I shouldn't have put it that way, but this one I think is something to kind of have a mind game with. Okay. A different one. I like Trump not only because he has what he has done, or he has done what he said he would as president, but I appreciate his sense of humor. By comparison, Harris can't hold a candle. To your point, the sense of humor idea, that's what the left and the mainstream media don't get. It's just like when they say, well, he's going to be a dictator from day one. It's not what he said, number one. Number two, you can see it if you watch it, the sarcasm, the joking, and those type of things. They never got that about him. And it's either out of just their dislike of him or wanting to mislead on what he said or whatever the case may be, but they just never got that. Next up, I never liked or trusted 60 Minutes. I disliked Dan Rather. Yeah, well, good call then. Who I think hosted it years ago and haven't watched the show since then. Yeah, I totally understand that. Okay, this is the comment. I just think this is funny. So, random thought of the day. Frank, remember in school when we had to write an essay with a minimum of so many words? Kamala must have been really good at that. That's a perfect way of putting it. you know, where you're whatever the word count was, and boy, you're trying so much, and the sentences got progressively worse and worse, and then longer and longer with words that were completely unnecessary. So you're right. Maybe that's where that comes from. Maybe she was really good at it, and it just stuck. It's something that she learned. I thought that was very clever. I'm reminded of the movie House Sitter when Steve Martin told Goldie Hawn that she was like the Ernest Hemingway of, we'll say, baloney. Yeah, I like that idea. She's keeping up on her word count. So back to the CBS edited video. This coming from the Post editorial board, saying, with even the Harris-Walz campaign disavowing CBS's hack editing job of Bill Whitaker's interview with a Democratic nominee, the network's only hope of regaining any credibility is to release the full transcript. Again, it's not about credibility. They know they can weather this storm for a month and it's no longer a story. Win, lose, or draw. Trump gets it, Harris gets it. It's just no longer a political issue. So they can weather the storm, unfortunately. That's not saying they're not going to release a transcript. I'm not making any predictions there. Just behind the scenes, if they don't want to, they know they don't have to. As we've noted, the network left no question it had reshaped the full video to conceal Kamala Harris's inept answers to Whitaker's entirely professional questioning. Yes, it was an unforced error. It was a mistake that they did not need to make. So, again, but I think there is that cockiness at the mainstream media where they think, well, it doesn't matter. That started looking bad for Harris, so we'll change it. Well, maybe, someone's going to notice, but who cares? What traction is it going to get? And right now it looks as if just conservative outlets, New York Post specifically, reporting on it. It released an uncut back and forth to promote the airing of the full interview, then broadcast a version that deceptively made it seem like she'd given a somewhat coherent answer to his question about Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is not listening to the Biden administration's advice and requests. In the transcript, CBS, hold on. I know this isn't professional. I've got to. It's dry in here, folks. It's that time of year. In the transcript, CBS later released, also cut her word salad response. What else wound up on the cutting room floor? That's really what's more concerning, both on video and in print. The American people deserve to know the full truth. Given how awful Harris looked even after CBS chose to deceive its viewers, this may well be the last serious interview she does before Election Day. And that is the important point, and that's why CBS does not want to release it. It could do damage to her, and they do not want to do damage to Harris. The network has a clear duty to the public to share the whole thing. Yes, here is a woman who is running for president, who did not have the primary process, so deserves a little more scrutiny than most because she did not have that whole process of running to get at the position she's at. So she didn't have that, so there should be more scrutiny. And instead, there's less. And now what could be the last main interview that she gives, big interview that she gives before Election Day, and CBS won't release the transcript when there's huge red flags and questions. Former CBS reporter Catherine Heritage noted that there's even precedent for the network releasing a complete raw transcript. It did so for interviews with then-President Donald Trump in 2020. Interesting. CBS News claims it decided to provide the highest quality journalism. Our mission is to empower Americans across all ages and demographics to understand the stories and issues that shape the world around us. And we will always seek to hold your elected officials accountable through fair, unbiased, and fact-based reporting. Keeping the full transcript, keeping it secret, breaks every one of those promises. Cough it up already, says the New York Post editorial board. Now, Harris did have the Univision town hall yesterday. I understand it was recorded and then played later in the day. She was actually finally questioned, which the fact that this has been so long, this question was took so long to be asked, which was for her to address her unprecedented nomination route to become the candidate for president on the Democratic ticket. Because again, we don't have to keep belaboring this point, but she didn't run in the primary process. So it was, 14 million Democrats voted for Biden, and their vote was just ignored by the Democrat elite and big money, saying, yeah, never mind, you don't really get to choose the candidate. we make the decisions for you. But thank you for going through the process. Hey, could you do it again in November? We know we haven't shown that we trust you, but if you could do it again in November, we'd really appreciate it. Vice President Kamala Harris finally confronted the question of her candidacy's primary free path after 10 weeks as a presumptive nominee. And one thing is she doesn't give press conferences. She doesn't give a lot of interviews, and when she does, they're friendly outlets, so they're not going to ask this. It wasn't a reporter who asked, though, and that's what's interesting. It wasn't a reporter who asked. It was an undecided voter at Univision's Thursday town hall. You earned your candidacy without going through the normal process. That is primary elections or through a caucus, said property manager Mario Sigbaum, I think it is, who became a U.S. citizen 28 years ago. That really caught my attention. I'm also concerned about the way I feel President Biden was pushed aside. How can you clarify this? Wow. Not coming from a reporter, mind you. Coming from the audience. We're going to talk more about this. I realize we're running late, and I don't want to stop. I'll tell you what she had to say when we come back. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
Enjoy a taste Finger Lakes at Hector Hideaway.
With a lunch and dinner menu, we serve a variety of delicious dishes made with locally sourced ingredients. Dine inside or out on the deck for gorgeous lake views and pair your meal with a local wine, beer, or beverage. We're open until 9 p.m. Thursday through Monday, but the bar is open until midnight Fridays and Saturdays. Stay tuned for live music. Visit us today at Hector Hideaway.
Wow, you found it.
I did.
The History of Water Part 6? I've been dying to read this.
I know, honey.
I always wanted that book.
At Culligan, we get that most people don't think about water like we do, and that's okay. You see, when we install one of our high-efficiency water softeners, we're thinking about hard water and limescale buildup, so you can just think about longer-lasting appliances and softer skin and hair. At Culligan, we think about your water, so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
I'm Jonathan Lawson. If you're 50 to 85, please listen closely. The lock I want to talk to you about isn't the one on your door. It's a rate lock for your life insurance that guarantees that once you're insured, your rate can never go up at any time for any reason. Many policies you see don't have one, but you can get a lifetime rate lock from Colonial Penn. This plan was designed for people on a fixed income with coverage options that start at $9.95 a month. That's less than 35 cents a day. Your rate is locked in for life. Coverage can never be canceled, and your acceptance is guaranteed. You cannot be turned down because of your health. See for yourself. Call for an information kit and gift. Both are free with no obligation.
Call 1-800-781-9990 for your free information and your free gift. That's 1-800-781-9990. 1-800-781-9990.
Listen to this comment from a viewer. So glad to get a professional company like Boss Security for the street cam. They will keep it running great. So crisp, like a postcard, isn't it? Look at that view of Market Street. Thank you to Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs, or if you just want to look out your backyard and see a beautiful, crisp, postcard-like picture. Yeah, there we go. All right, welcome back. This is Frankly Speaking. We're broadcasting from the Hesselson studio, of course, as you know. And we're broadcasting live and proudly. Okay. So it wasn't a reporter. It was a voter at Univision. And an undecided voter, even, at the town hall. Saying, hey, you didn't go through the normal process. A primary election, a caucus. And also, what really caught my attention, I'm also concerned about the way I feel President Biden was pushed aside. How can you clarify this? She would have never received this question from a reporter. It's definitely not worded in that way. She said, President Biden made a decision that I think history will show is probably one of the most courageous that a president could make, which is he decided to put country above his personal interest. And he made that decision. He very within that same period of time. What? And he made that decision. He very within that same period of time supported my candidacy and urged me to run. That's when you know she didn't expect the question, when it turns into a word salad. I'm going to try it again because now I just want to see if I can get good at this. President Biden made a decision that I think history will show is probably one of the most courageous that a president could make, which he decided to put country above his personal interest. And he made that decision. He very within the same period of time supported my candidacy and urged me to run. And I'm honored to have earned the Democratic nomination. Wait a minute, how? Well, it is unprecedented. I'll agree with that, but I guess you earned the Democrat. I mean, it wasn't a primary. But former President Trump, who unlike Harris bested a field of rivals in 2 presidential primary cycles, represents the actual anti-democratic threat, she said in a quick pivot. Donald Trump said he would, and I'm using a quotation, terminate the Constitution of the United States. Imagine the Constitution of the United States would guarantee the 4th Amendment against unreasonable search and seizures by government on you, the 5th Amendment, the 6th Amendment. The Democrat did not mention the First Amendment, which guarantees freedom of speech, or the Second Amendment, codifying citizens' right to bear arms, which is kind of interesting. Keep that in mind. Anyway, I guess that aired last night, if anybody happened to see it. And it was out of Las Vegas. That's why she had to do the Zoom call about Hurricane Milton's impact. And I guess, I think they said Trump. Okay, they did ask her, name 3 positive things about Trump. An audience member asked her this. I don't really know him, to be honest with you. I only met him one time on the debate stage. I've never met him before, so I don't really have much to offer to you. And saying that he does have a love for his family. The rest of the Q&A saw Harris reach in her stump speech grab bag for stock answers on subjects such as inflation, which she blamed on price gouging, abortion in the year of the Lord 2024. Women shouldn't have to worry about politicians deciding their options. Okay. Univision, which is expected to host a similar event with Trump next week, refused to make audience members available to reporters. A spokeswoman would not provide a reason for that segregation. That's interesting. Because it'd be interesting to further interview the undecided voter who asked Harris about the unprecedented nature of her candidacy and not ever having received a vote for president. That's interesting. I wonder what the reasoning behind that would be. Do you ever ask yourself, how many undecided voters are there at this point? I mean, I know it's a major topic and a major story, but and I'm not pointing to this gentleman specifically. I'm pointing just in general. Do you think the undecided voters at this point are just contrarians? They're just looking to maybe get attention. It's kind of like the person that says, well, I'm registered independent, or I'm registered Republican, but I vote Democrat every time, but I'm still going to badmouth Republicans or whatever. Just kind of that contrarian nature. I'm not knocking people I didn't mean it to sound like I was knocking people voting independent. I'm just saying that sometimes people use that as a I'm different than everybody else kind of thing. So if you're an undecided voter, sorry, dry. If you're an undecided voter, are you an undecided voter? Because, I mean, there's just such a clear difference. They're just complete polar opposite people. If you like Harris, you like Harris. If you like Trump, you like Trump. I don't see someone liking Harris and saying, oh, never mind, now I like Trump after that comment. Or, boy, I like Trump, but Harris made a good point there. I think that number's overstated. I think a lot of it's people that don't want to give answers to people taking the polls, right? Or it is to be a contrarian, or it is to be to get maybe a little attention and go, yes, I'm one of those. Look at me. Target me with your ads and your money, or maybe send me over Univision to your town hall. Anyway, I don't know, just a rant that I got onto there. I just can't imagine there's that many. Here we are on October the 11th. And how could you be undecided unless you're deciding whether or not to vote? I can see that maybe. I don't like Harris. I don't like the way it all went down. I don't think she's doing a good job, but I lean more Democrat and I don't support Trump. I just don't think I'll vote, or maybe I'll vote third party, something like that. I think that there's a lot of money being targeted at undecided voters. I'm just wondering how at this point. I mean, I can see people, why they support Harris. I can see why they support Trump, because that's where their political beliefs align. or their feelings align or whatever align, I don't see someone still out there going, I just got to see which one I want to vote for here on October the 11th to see. I just haven't made up my mind. Well, then there can't be any real core political beliefs anyway that you have, right? And again, back on that tangent. Let's take a break. I'm going to grab some tea. We'll be right back, Frankly Speaking, here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
When kids don't have access to essential health care, it can negatively impact their physical and emotional health.
Ready or not, here I come!
That's why Excelis Blue Cross Blue Shield is working to make quality care more accessible with specialized programs and plans for the needs of all families. So every child, every hide-and seeker, everybody benefits.
Contact Boss Security today for all your business and home security needs, because our roof cam is brought to you by Boss Security, and I do stand or I stay on that screen longer than most. I just like the look of it. We're broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Thank you for joining us. Here's a comment from a viewer. Since Harris is anti-gun, isn't it hypocritical of her to own a Glock? Well, yes. Walls is the same. Walls likes to talk about pheasant hunting, and I'm sure if they're not out there already, I'm sure we will see many photos in the orange vest and the like, but then they push for gun control. So it's a good point. Back to the Univision town hall. Harris was asked about how she is different from Biden on the border, how she would be different. This was at the Univision Town Hall, as I said. This is what Harris said. Perhaps what distinguishes me from at least a couple of people, I was a top law enforcement officer of the biggest state in the country, California. That is also a border state. I have taken on transnational criminal organizations. Really? You haven't said. I didn't know that. I have taken on transnational criminal organizations that traffic in guns, drugs, and human beings, and I have prosecuted them. I led a bipartisan group of attorney generals to Mexico City to work with Mexican attorneys general to combine Mexicans attorney general to combine intelligence and resources to prosecute those cases, including what was going south as well as what was going north. So I will put my record up against anyone in terms of the work I've always done and will always do to ensure we have a secure border. I will bring back that border security bill and I will sign it into law and do the work. Get ready. The work on focusing on what we must do to have an orderly and humane pathway to earn citizenship for hardworking people. So she will push a pathway to citizenship. Not really surprised, but now on record. Now, her running mate, Tim Walz, was pressed by none other than Michael Strahan about the news we brought to you the other day that he was calling for the abolishment of the Electoral College. Tim Walz called for the abolition of the Electoral College during a fundraiser earlier this week. Where is it here? And since that time, Kamala Harris has tried to distance herself from that statement. Strahan said, "You said, I think all of us know the Electoral College needs to go." But the campaign came out later that night and said that that's not their stance. This is what Tim Walz's response was. Well, it's not the campaign's position. And the point I'm trying to make is that there's work or there's folks that feel every vote must count in every state. And I think that some folks feel that's not the case. Our campaign does that, and the point I'm saying is I'm in 5 states in 2 days. We're out there making the case that the campaign's position is clear. That's not their position. Their position and my position is to make sure that everybody understands their vote, no matter what state they're in, matters. It's interesting. So you're acting as if the campaign is different than you as people. Anyway, so is that something you and Vice President Harris disagree on, Strahan said? I've spoken about in the past, and she's been very clear on this. The campaign and my position is the campaign's position. So I'll just change whatever they want me to change. With all that being said, Chris Wallace believes that Harris's campaign has plateaued and that Trump is now a slight favorite. This is coming on CNN, Chris Wallace on CNN, The Situation Room. Barack Obama is probably the most popular Democrat in the country. I think you see him. He's going to be in Pittsburgh tonight. You'll see him in a lot of urban areas, obviously trying to help Kamala Harris with a weakness she has with younger, below 50 black men. We hear that Clinton's going to be deployed primarily to rural areas to try to help Harris with a weakness she has with non-college educated working class white men. So Wolf Blitzer said Harris is ahead of Trump in Pennsylvania 49-46, but she's behind Trump in Michigan and Wisconsin, though both states are inside what's called the margin of error. She's raised $1 billion since she's got the nomination. That's a lot of money that they could use in these campaigns. I'm hearing this from top Republicans and top Democrats. Harris seems to have stalled out a bit in the last couple of weeks. You know, she had a great rollout, great convention, very successful debate, but she seemed to have plateaued. One top Republican said 2 weeks ago, I would have said that she was a slight favorite. He said today, I say Trump is a slight favorite. I think there's a plateau. Well, I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that, and now they're trying to make up for it, that there wasn't the media, that she didn't do the press conferences, she didn't do the interviews. And what people have seen, which is rare, has not went what you would say particularly good for her. So I think that's kind of what they're dealing with now. And, you know, is it like when they talk about a football team peaking too soon? I don't know. Time will tell. But there does seem to be some real concern, some real fright, if you will, within the Democratic Party. Where do we want to go from here? Do I want to take a break? And because we're nearly out of time. Kind of piggybacking off of that with what Chris Wallace. Yeah, I do have some international stories, but what Chris Wallace had to say that now Trump might be the slight favorite. Senior data reporter Harry Enton was on CNN's The Source. And host Caitlin Collins said, one of the second most important things that we're going to learn in this election is which party is going to take control of the Senate based on the numbers right now. It seems as if Democrat control is slipping away and the Republicans are poised to get the majority. New York Times Siena poll of the critical race in Montana right now shows the incumbent Democrat there that it's a Senator Jon Tester. He's down 8 points to his Republican challenger, Tim Sheehy. Democrats right now have a slim 51-seat majority in the Senate. They are all but guaranteed right now to lose their Democrat seat in West Virginia. What races are you watching that are most critical? And that's when Enton said, you mentioned West Virginia, Joe Manchin is retiring. That's going to the Republicans. Then essentially you have these 3 races that have been keeping an eye on Montana. Obviously, Jon Tester trailing the polls, right? What do we see? Texas, Florida, both out today, 2 different polls out. What do we see? Republicans ahead there. The bottom line is Democrats have to win one of those seats, most likely in order to maintain control. And they're not really all that close in any of them. I think that really paints the picture. It's dire time for Democrats who want to keep Senate control at this particular hour when it comes to the House, Senate, presidential. I feel most confident saying that the Senate is most likely going Republican. Now let's take that break. Stay with us. Wrapping things up on this morning's edition of Frankly Speaking.
Have you been unable to work for over a year due to a mental or physical disability?
Were you recently denied Social Security disability benefits? Great news. You may be eligible for money, back pay, relief.
If you've been pre-qualified and diagnosed with a recognized condition that prohibits you from working, our lawyers can file a claim to get your disability benefit.
Call us today and find out more.
Call now, 844-617-0440.
Whether because of discomfort
lack of mobility, your lifestyle, or occupation. You sit inactively way too many hours a day. Introducing Ellipse, the premium quality automatic seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation without physical strain or impact.
It is so quiet that none of my coworkers even know I'm using it.
Strengthen and tone your legs. Increase your mobility, flexibility, and balance. Plus, stimulate healthy circulation.
My joints feel better, my knees feel better, my back feels better. It makes me feel stronger too.
Perfect for home therapy. Whisper quiet to use while you work.
My circulation is moving, I'm burning calories, and it makes me feel energetic.
Call now and order Ellipse, the seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation. Call and get upgraded to the Deluxe Bundle. Get the faster motor or 5 miles of steps per hour, the step counter, the sport mat, and wireless remote.
The Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact Boss Security for all your business and home security needs. Just quickly, ready? Buckle in, because we have a lot to get to. Oh, this is interesting. New York Post editorial board said, with Kamala Harris flailing, the left is resorting to Russia hoax 2.0. Yeah, and we had mentioned that yesterday with the Woodward book. Let's face it, Dems are desperate as polls show Harris losing, and she struggles in even friendly media hits. That's one of the things hurting her a lot, even friendly outlets. I mean, that's why CBS had to edit it, showing, again, their bias. And so they rushed to Russia hoax 2.0. Even if it doesn't change a single vote, it's proven clickbait. Okay, some international. The United States, and recently released by Reuters, still believes Iran has not decided to build a nuclear weapon. Biden-Harris should help Israel take out Iran's nuclear program. The world will thank them, according to Douglas Murray. That's true. I would agree, but I don't think that is the mindset of this administration. If Israel goes it alone, then Biden-Harris will probably condemn them, but the region and the wider world will soon thank them. And finally, as we go this morning, Afghan CIA employee charged in U.S. Election Day terror plot shows the disaster in the vetting of refugees, according to a source. This coming from the New York Post. The Afghan national who is charged with plotting an ISIS-inspired Election Day massacre on American voters is just one example of the blanking disaster vetting of process of asylum seekers during the Biden-Harris administration's pullout from Afghanistan, according to a source. Obviously, clearly a disaster. If you look at that, if you just look at the numbers and the real concern of terrorism, right, in general. Hold on. I had to grab something here because I had one last announcement before we go. So clearly a disaster, and something that, again, should be discussed more. That kind of left off the radar, didn't it? Quickly, about that foiled potential terrorist attack on Election Day. So, okay, anyway, we are out of time for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Thank you to everyone who joined us all week long. Thank you for all the comments. What a fun week on the program. We talked with Sheena Rossetti, who held that, I think, very important forum on Prop 1. And I know many of you went to it, and thank you to Sheena Rossetti and those who put together forums like that. It's very important, very informative. I also want to thank Matthew Bizzetti, who's running for Chemung County Family Court Judge, for being on the program later in the week. Also, thank you to Bobby Ann Cox, Esquire, and Senator George Borrello for being on the program. They were a part of that forum, and they told us all about Prop 1. I really appreciate that. And also, I know I'm going through my whole list. That's why I had to grab it, because there's so many. I don't want to forget anybody. I know I'm going to. Oh, our friends at San Giovanni Valderno, Italy. Our friends have visited us, so thank you for stopping in the studio, and what a great pasta dinner yesterday. And also, I want to thank Muriel Anderson, who, of course, will be at Marriage Music. Marriage Music. I always put plural at the end. Marriage Music this Sunday at 2 p.m. And all proceeds go to benefit flood victims in need. So thank you to Muriel for being on the program this week. That does it for us. Another week in the books as we inch closer sprint closer, perhaps is a better way to look at it, to Election Day. It is going to be a busy few weeks, so make sure you join us every weekday morning starting at 6 for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV, Big Fox. We will see you bright and early Monday morning. I look forward to it already. Have a great weekend, everyone.